Hello, good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here. April Marie here for Leland today and every day this week, and then early next week as Leland is out on his trip with his lovely wife. President Donald Trump taking questions, but you never know what it's on. AJ, I was going to get into Iran negotiations. Let's go to Trump. It looks like he is talking Iran right now.
The opposite of a depression. We're doing really well. The numbers are incredible. The oil is at a level that nobody's ever seen before. Oil prices are way down. I think they're very comparable to what they were. Chris, I don't know, pretty comparable to what they were before we started. Right?
They've returned most of the way back down.
Yeah.
So if Iran does not abide by the MOU, are you still willing
What I didn't
for strikes?
say
And
it
does
would
give
cause a
leverage?
depression. I said it could cause a depression, right? And I said that I don't want to be Herbert Hoover. That's a president I don't want to be because he was in charge during the Great Depression. And certainly a lot of bad things could happen. That would be one of the things. I don't think it would, but if it did. But no, if Iran doesn't live up to their agreement, or if they're not behaving, I will do what I have to do.
Does that give them leverage over you, Mr. President?
Say it?
Does that give them leverage, the Iranians leverage over you?
Oh, you're so leverage. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Their leaders are all dead. Their whole country's a mess. Their economy is shot. The Times, the fake New York Times said, oh, it's about the same as it was 4 months ago. No, 4 months ago they had a Navy, 159 ships to be exact. It's gone. The whole Navy's gone. Their 250 airplanes, all gone. Their anti-aircraft is gone. Their radar is gone. These guys love radar. Their radar is gone. Everything's gone. Their leaders are gone. Their whole country is gone. And the Times said, oh, they're about the same as they were 4 months ago. And the reason the news is doing so badly, or let's put it another way, the reason that I won in a landslide, even though I got 92% negative press, all fake press, is because nobody believes the press anymore. And they have to start believing. When the Times and a couple of others, they're grasping for straws. When they say that Iran is about the same as it was 4 months. 4 months ago, they had a powerful Navy, they had a powerful Air Force. Most of their missiles are gone. Most of their launching pads are gone. Most of their manufacturing capacity for drones and missiles is gone. About 87% gone. And then I hear, oh, they're in such great shape. No, they're gone. And their first level of leaders, gone. Their second level of leaders, gone. Their third level of leaders, you have to hear the conversations. Who wants to be president? Well, I don't want it. Nobody wants to be president. And then we have to read that they're doing well. They're doing so badly. In the meantime, we're setting records. We have the strongest economy we've ever had. We have $18 to $19 trillion being poured into our country. We're building factories all over the place. We have more people working today than at any time in the history of our country at higher salaries. So when you ask a question like that, it's so stupid.
Mr. President,
Here's another beauty. What's this one?
well,
Here's a real beauty.
earlier
Go
today,
ahead.
the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his forces are not leaving Lebanon. That is a sticking point.
Who did he tell that to you?
He said it publicly in Israel.
Well, we're going to take a look at it.
Well, what would you do to make sure that he doesn't?
Well, I'm not going to
sabotage
tell
the
you
deal?
what I'm going to do, but it gets solved. I'm a problem solver. I get problems solved real fast, including with Bibi. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you. What's the latest you've heard from the Vice President? Are you happy with his negotiations?
Yeah.
And can you share a little bit about what Secretary Rubio will be doing in the Middle East this week?
I think that they're doing a fantastic job. Our secretary is fantastic. I think he's maybe going to go down as the best ever. And I thought J.D. Vance this morning was fantastic. I watched his news conference, and from Switzerland, he's a very smart guy. Did a great job. When I look at the Democrats, I call them the Democrats. They're dumb. The Democrats. When I watched that, where one of them thought it was World War XI. She said World War XI. She meant World War II. You know about that, right? This is one of their potential leaders, Ilhan Omar, who married her brother to get into the country, by the way, illegally. But when I watch AOC have no idea on a simple question, what happened when she was over in Switzerland, which she probably never went there before, but she was, and then I watch somebody like JD or Marco. I said, what a difference. What a difference. What a difference a brain makes.
Mr. President, the candidate is
Sir, you've been quite critical of Prime Minister Starmer, and he's now resigned. Your thoughts, and who would you like to see as the next Prime Minister
No,
of the
I
UK?
was critical only from the set because I think he's a lovely man, but I said, you're really messing up energy. You have windmills all over the place. In the meantime, you have the North
Said it
Sea
before,
oil.
I'll say it again. I love it when he does this. I love it. This is what we want and need from our leaders. Even when Trump is cracking jokes and insulting people, it's still better than Biden hiding in a basement somewhere. All right, there was a lot to that conversation. Jumping in, Trump answering questions, ranging from the economy to Iran and the deal there. I love him praising Marco Rubio, going down as the best Secretary of State ever. I truly believe that. I truly believe that Marco Rubio, in this job, because he was a great U.S. senator. I mean, he was. You look at his career, and I know his career because I was tracking it. I was in Florida. I was on the ground. I was hanging out with him and his friends. Marco Rubio could pick me out of a lineup, but it's not like we're buds. But Marco Rubio has gone from the Speaker of the House in Florida to the U.S. Senate to this role, and he was born for it. He was made for it. Watching him turn into who and what he is now has just been, if I were to sit down and, write some of the coolest things I've seen, this is one of them, okay? Because he was always going places. He really was. He was ambitious and smart and, focused and determined. And in the role of Secretary of State, he has really just truly shined. And I love watching where that's going. He mentioned JD. I started to say this earlier. JD Vance, of course, overdoing these meetings, these negotiations. It's direct negotiations in Switzerland. Among the people on that trip with him, it's JD Vance, it's his special envoy, it's Jared Kushner, it's JD's chief of staff. Among the people there is a familiar name if you're paying attention to Alabama politics, and that is Cliff Sims. Cliff Sims was the owner, he was the founder of Yellowhammer News. It's now Paul Shashi, who is amazing, by the way. But Cliff Sims, it's funny to watch the evolution. Now, it was announced that he was joining J.D. Vance's office as in the role of National Security Advisor to the Vice President about a month ago. I was looking it up. But it's kind of crazy to think this guy who was, putting not that long ago, before Trump's first term, because he left during Trump's first term, he is now in on these negotiations. It's kind of fun to watch the leftists lose their mind about this. They don't want Trump to get this right. What does that mean? What does it mean when you see leftists cheering for Iran? They're cheering against us. They're not just cheering against Trump and Trump's family and Trump's, Jared Kushner or J.D. Vance. No, they're cheering against our nation. And I always want to just say, do you realize you're doing this? In hoping for, praying for Trump's, for a bad outcome, for his failure on this. Oh, no, he can't get this done. Biden tried this. Well, Biden's in negotiations with them didn't include the nuclear part, the nuclear weapons part. I was looking at a side-by-side of what was different in the two peace talks. As Trump said, a big portion of the success, well, what did we gain in the war? Well, we killed a lot of bad guys. And we showed them we're not going to sit on our hands and wag our fingers and just give warnings. Now, Trump probably has given a lot of warnings. As a matter of fact, Iranian negotiators walked out of the peace talks after Trump tweeted, or not tweeted, I guess it was his Truth social media, that he would blow the out of them and take over the country if things went awry. they came back to the table. I think, at this point, we all know Trump's hyperbole, but we also know when he's serious. And he's serious about this. You're not going to attack, and Marco Rubio has been serious about this. You're not going to attack the U.S. in any way. You're not gonna fire upon our ships. You're not gonna threaten to destroy us. You're not gonna lie to us about weapons. You're not gonna do any of this. So it looks like that we are in a position now, a better position to actually negotiate. Earlier, they were talking about negotiators even getting some inspections as soon as this week. So I'm going to talk, I'll go back to my notes on this when we come back from this break. But I love President Trump taking the time to talk to these reporters, answer the questions, even from hostile ones. He pulls no punches. He knows that these are people who are actively spending night and day, every day against him. And he'll take their questions. He'll roll his eyes at them. He'll tell them how stupid their questions are and point out how biased their coverage has been and get the true information out there. If not for us hearing from Trump directly, there's only a handful of outlets that would cover it because they don't like to cover it. But once we've seen it and heard it for ourselves, like what we're doing now, they can't run away from it. They'll try, but they can't. All right, we'll be back in just a minute with more of what is going on in these Iran negotiations. You're listening to Leland Live with April Murray. He's shaking his head like he wants me to talk.
I mean, you can sing if you want to,
No.
but the mic is on, so.
No. I like them better than that. Is this what they call the calm before the storm out there? If you look out the window, it went from stormy and dark and gross to pretty out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's lulling us into a false sense of safety. April Marie here, filling in for Leland. Trump's still going on Fox News. Still live Trump over there. I am over here trying to. This is so funny. So, do you want to know what I've spent the last 2 commercial breaks trying to do, AJ? Ella Langley is coming to Auburn. I wrote that story on my way here, so I was trying to tweet to her that we will be going to our second Ella Langley concert because we went and saw her in Tuscaloosa, but it was in the rain, and she was an opening act for Morgan Wallen, and this like monitor blocked out her face, so you couldn't really see her where we were. So apparently there's a second concert in my future, and if Freddie can go out of his way on his soccer trip to go see Ella Langley, then I can drive over to Auburn. So that's what's happening. I'm trying to tweet about it. It's not really working. I mentioned going into the break, I was talking about the Iran deal, and there seems to be, and I was looking at what the latest is. There seems to be conflicting reports on whether or not when they're getting an inspection and whether or not they're getting an inspection. But I would suspect during negotiations, part of any negotiating is they're leaking. Both sides are kind of leaking information, and they're dealing with things in real time. And so, as Trump is talking about not trusting the media, the mainstream media, mind you, the ones who are saying adamantly no, this is going to be a bad deal for Trump. This is going to he will mess this up. The ones cheering for Trump to mess this up, they're going to get as much bad information out there as they can. They're going to do as much damage to Trump and to the team we have over there as they can. But some of the latest on there, according to Axios, is that it looks like Iran is going to allow inspectors back in. Someone put a message up on the YouTube of talk about the differences between the two deals. Well, we don't know what the difference between the deals are because the deal's being negotiated. That's what the Democrats are not understanding. We have a MOU for 60 days to stop the war. That's what we have right now. They're stopping, or in theory they are, while they negotiate a real deal. Let's let them do that, and then we'll figure out who got the better deal. And if Trump got the short end ends up at the end of all of this with the short end of the stick, then let's talk about it. But right now, it's really hard to say we've lost, and we shouldn't be saying we lost or the United States was this or Trump was that or whatever, because we don't know. It's just factually inaccurate. Are we in a better place? It depends on who's looking at it. Trump seems to think we are based on just who was killed, based on just them being at the table, based on, opening things back up. But we're going to keep an eye out on that throughout today's program, because really it is real time as we're literally looking at J.D. Vance get on, or was that Rubio getting on an airplane? Somebody was getting on an airplane literally as we were speaking. Rubio is set for the Middle East to visit and talk about the Iran deal. He has been the greatest pick in this administration. I love me some J.D. Vance, don't get me wrong. I do. I love me some J.D. Vance. And I think it's great that those two are going to be the front runners for going into 2028, because they've both shown themselves to be solid leaders. They both showed themselves to be able to kind of hold their own in an administration where Trump doesn't have a long history of keeping people a long time and keeping positive relationships with them. I will say that I credit Susie Wiles, and I know people have varied opinions on her. I think she's wonderful because she has been able to accomplish what none of Trump's other chief of staffs have been able to accomplish, kind of taking things down a notch. All right, back in a minute, we'll continue this conversation. Well, good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here, filling in for Leland. The rest of this week and early next week, AJ attempting to keep me out of trouble. So far, so good. Speaking of staying out of trouble, there are times in which I am A-okay with people getting into trouble. I put that in air quotes. I don't know if you guys have you followed this Auburn practice jersey pullover nonsense, AJ, at all?
No,
You know what
I
I'm
have not
talking about
followed
at
it.
all? Okay, so the one of the most idiotic groups in existence, the Freedom From Religion Foundation, has sent nasty grams to Auburn. They are accusing the university of prioritizing religion and basically preaching to students. Auburn University continues an upsetting and concerning trend of allowing athletics coaches to proselytize student athletes with seemingly no real consequences. They're upset because the players have practice pullovers that I'm sure were not. I say I'm sure, although I don't know. I'm not sure. But they likely donated or in-kinded that says Jesus won with a cross on the back. Or yes, with a cross on the back where the number is. It says the team they're upset about these jerseys. They accuse the team of having the jerseys. They're actually practice pullovers. There's images of them online. The foundation previously contacted Auburn University over its hiring of Christian chaplains, it's saying that that's wrong. Today, so that was late last week. Today, Tommy Tuberville, not surprised at all. And here's the thing is, if you're going to go criticize a university, an Alabama one seems like a really bad place to start, right? Like what in the world? This is what we expect here. This is what we want to see here. Tommy Tuberville's response says, our great country was founded on the freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. It's no surprise to see woke groups that hate God and America come after Auburn's baseball team for displaying their faith on practice jerseys. Hiring the first ever team chaplain at Auburn University is one of the best things I ever did in my coaching career. I didn't realize he had done that. I saw the positive impacts of offering spiritual support for my players, and I'm glad that Auburn has continued having team chaplains for its student athletes. I commend Auburn's baseball team and hope they continue to stand firm in their beliefs. Here's the thing. If you don't want to see the team chaplain, don't go see the team chaplain. If you don't this isn't like those Pride baseball hats that it was like you wear it as is or be fined. I am absolutely positive, without a doubt, that if a student chose not to wear the practice jersey, that they would be okay. Why? Because we're rational human beings here. Do you guys see the Pride hats where they put the Bible verses and everybody got all upset? I say everybody got all upset. The teams and the management and the league got upset. What in the world? Let's not kid ourselves. What the LGBTQ community has become is a cult and a religion in and of itself. Maybe it didn't used to be that. Maybe it was back when it was the L and the G fighting for certain things, the ability to go see their loved ones in the hospital, the ability to be recognized how they want to be recognized. That's a whole different conversation in terms of is it or is it not a sin? Is it or is it not whatever? But where they are now is we're going to go after children. We're going to put men in women's prisons. I saw a story earlier today. And by the way, this is where we are here. We've got athletes knowingly, willingly wearing a cross on their back, and they're under attack. And then the ones who are under attack on the professional side are under attack because they wanted to put scripture on a pride flag, because the pride flag is a sacred of its own way, which is, by the way, ridiculous. It's ridiculous what we have come to. I will say that this year I have seen less pride propaganda than I have in recent years, and I think that's a very good trend for us, and I hope it continues. I hope last year, and this is not a joke, not an exaggeration, If I got an email from a brand, something I subscribed to, I wanted a discount at Gap or at Nike or whatever, and I signed up for their emails to get that instant discount. If someone sent me a Pride Month email, and I not only deleted it, but I unsubscribed from the email list and made it clear I was doing so because I don't want that garbage. I don't want it in my inbox. I don't want my kids seeing it everywhere. We turned on Disney. Disney's got an LGBTQ section. I was like, for the love, we're not going to Disney this month. I only have Disney, by the way, because it's a family account and I don't pay for it. But it is absolutely ridiculous to see this organization, which I guess the only reason they're worth talking about is because they're worth mocking. The Freedom from Religion Foundation, angry over the chaplain, angry over the pullovers. By the way, as an adult, to get angry because student athletes are choosing to acknowledge Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, to acknowledge, to pray by their own choice, of their own will, with a chaplain, it's ridiculous. The baseball associate, the Auburn University's baseball weighed in, saying Auburn University is aware of the constitutional rights of all Auburn students, employees, and community members, as well as the constitutional rights of the university. Auburn will continue its demonstrated commitment to fostering an environment where all members of our community are welcome, valued, respected, and engaged. I really wish there had been a little bit more of a buzz off in there. We recognize everybody's rights. We recognize everybody's rights, and we fundamentally disagree with you saying this is a problem. You are wrong. I'm really loving it. I said before, there are individuals around the nation who I could teach a master class on how to deal with these leftists. And, one-word responses, no. We don't care. It's legal, we're fine. Go away. I could take any of those for these yahoos. And by the way, kudos for the students. Kudos for the students who choose to wear it. And as I said before, if a student didn't want to wear it, I'm not going to sit up here, I'm not going to spend airtime singling out a student who chooses not to wear it. Unlike what they have done with individuals and athletes who don't want to wear the pride flag. The pride flag now is nothing to be proud of. Have you seen where this movement has taken itself? Drag queen story hours, pornographic materials in the children's sections of libraries, cross-dressers, transgenders, trannies, whatever you want to call them, men in women's prisons. It's insane. Men in women's locker rooms, men in women's sports, individuals identifying as non-binary and queer and wanting you to play along with their game and get offended when you say, no, sir, no, ma'am, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. I don't know if I haven't told this story in a while, but the kids and I were on a vacation. Here, we're in Alabama, in South Alabama, on a vacation, and I have taught my kids to say yes, sir, yes, ma'am, please and thank you, all of the things. And my son was asking for an ice cream. I believe it was one of my children. I believe it was my son was asking for an ice cream, and he's talking to the person, and I said, say no, sir. And he said, no, sir. And the individual says, I don't use those pronouns. And you could see as the words were coming out of the mouth, I clearly had a face. I clearly did not respond well. Those of you watching on the YouTube, I have no poker face. I wear my emotions and my responses on my face every time. You know what they are going to be. And I must have done it because the kid really wheeled that back really quick, was like, oh, I forgot where I am. And I'm thinking to myself, where are you that you think it'd be okay to correct anyone? Just if you don't like the reality you live in, just shut up and walk away. Don't ask me to live in your make-believe world. I don't care if you are, air quotes, non-binary. You can identify as whatever you want to identify as long as it doesn't impact me. But I'm not playing along with your little game. By no stretch of the imagination will I have my children playing along with this little game, and nobody out there listening should ever encourage their kids to play along with this little game. I will be perfectly frank. There have been individuals where I'm like, I am clearly not going to be mean to you. I won't go out of my way. There was a barista once, and I that wore they them pronouns. And so I, as an adult, did not on purpose did not say ma'am. But I'm not going to teach my kids that this is normal, this is acceptable, this is something they should get used to, this is something they should change the values we're teaching them for it to do. Absolutely not. Kudos to Auburn for basically telling that organization, nah, we're going to keep going. Kudos for Tuberville saying that he hopes these trends continue in terms of Auburn continuing to have chaplains, continuing to wear these attire. I think it's a great thing. I'm really looking forward to a Tuberville in the governor's mansion when this gubernatorial race is over. We're going to have a lot of Tuberville Jones, but that's going to be, I think that's going to be fun. All right, guys, I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I'm going to get into some of the other top stories here in the state in just a minute. Hold tight. It's April Marie filling in for Leland. Well, good afternoon, everyone. April Marie here, filling in for Leland. Looking back at some of today's top headlines, a story I've been working on for a couple of days now because there was so much to find. A lot of outlets will do stories, just quick. I like to do deep dives. And I'm going to tell you about over at the University of Alabama. So, for those who don't know, at 1819 News, I'm a full-time reporter over there at 1819 News. My beat is primarily education. Now, I do veer off sometimes. I really like a good Second Amendment story. So, during the elections, I covered Second Amendment endorsements, and during legislative session, I cover Second Amendment legislation. But sometimes some Central Alabama stuff. I've covered a lot of the changes over at Birmingham Water Works and Central Alabama Water, and that, which by the way, maybe I'll get into that one day this week. But that continues. It's interesting because the new board continues to do positive things. I think the most recent thing was they were able to get the rating moved up again. And they're dealing with some debt problems and just inherited problems there. They overcame the attempts by the city of Birmingham to make them bring back fluoride in the water, and so that's an interesting beat that I've covered. Some local stuff every now and again. I think earlier today I got another email about Irondale. There's a lot of shenanigans that happen in Irondale. That Irondale city government is a very interesting place. But a story my primary beat is education, and so I've been looking at the universities, specifically the big ones, Auburn, Alabama. We started with oddly Samford, doing a lot of coverage about DEI and woke ideology at Samford University, and that to me, if you are going to, and Jeff Poore and I had this conversation on air multiple times, if you're going to send your kid to a college and one that you really think they're going to not have all the woke ideological nonsense that is DEI, CRT, gender ideology, whatever it is, you would imagine that that Samford would be safe of that. They weren't and haven't been. They have taken efforts, especially since our exposés on them, to get better. And I'm going to revisit that soon because there were a couple of stories that I had kind of checked out. But today's story and you can find this on 1819 News, is that the University of Alabama has promoted Andre Denham to associate provost in the dean of the UA Graduate School. Now, here's a fun fact. They put out a press release about this guy and all of his greatness. But I start looking into it, and what the press release failed to say was that in terms of DEI policies, programs, the really true goofiness that Bell got himself involved in some parts. We'll talk about Bell a little later. This guy was at the center of it. He was the head of the Black Faculty Staff Association. And if you have time and you are so inclined, you can click the link of that in my story over at 1819. It'll take you to their Twitter account, and their Twitter account will have you like in stitches, because they posted some of the craziest stuff you've ever seen during the height of the George Floyd riots. They of course did a post in support of those. They also had they posted in support of a die-in. Now, when you get into why were they having some of these on campus, it was because Breitbart News, and it was actually a University of Alabama alum who wrote for Breitbart News at the time, who found that the university's vice president and dean of students wrote a tweet that said, I'm going to read this to you. And then there's an emoji of the American flag. The American flag represents a systemic history of racism for my people. Police are a part of that system. Is it that hard to see the correlation? That was just one of the Breitbart News tweets that they found that they reported on. He wrote, I'm baffled at how the first thing white people say is, quote, that's not racist, end quote, when they can't even experience racism. You have zero opinion. This man was the dean of students. And here he was, and this is prior to getting the job, but these are public tweets. There he was saying that you can't be racist against whites. And by the way, there was a big push about this during all the George Floyd stuff and the BLM stuff. There was a long conversation. Yes, and it's not reverse racism either. I will follow a great guy on social media who talks about this. If you have been brainwashed into saying, I experienced reverse racism, smack yourself. That is not a thing. If somebody was racist against you or they weren't, you experience racism or you don't. And yes, white people, Indian people, Chinese, Japanese, you name it, can experience racism. So they put out a story with a number of just wild things. Final one in their story was, are movies about slavery truly about educating the unaware or to remind Black people of our place in society? What? Who would say that? Who would think that? I can't. I'm just shaking my head. And so this guy, the day after these tweets were public, there was obviously some kind of deal with the university because he resigned his seat, got a big old settlement for the university, and left. Has had a distinguished career doing all the race baiting things he wanted to do outside after leaving this job. Back to the guy who was promoted and with his promotion at the University of Alabama starting next week on July 1st. This guy who was recently promoted, they do a big press release touting this promotion, touting these things. All the while, University of Alabama is telling lawmakers, telling parents, telling everybody, no, we don't do the DEI stuff anymore. No, we're not doing any of that. As a matter of fact, President Stuart Bell, who might even tonight become in just here in a few minutes actually, become the interim president of the University of Florida. He's like, we didn't do DEI at all. Well, if you look at my story, it'll tell you otherwise, because there was a whole lot of DEI in this guy's past, from organizing and promoting with the Black Faculty and Staff Association. He did a die-in for students, where he is seen in pictures attending. He did a work-in for staff, where he is seen participating. He did a letter to President Stuart Bell at the time, basically saying, whoa, why did you fire this guy? This guy who's very clearly racist against white people, although there's not such a thing. Why did you fire him? No. This is the guy. They said they did a national search, and this is the best guy they can find for this position. Leads me to believe that they are not serious about getting DEI out of the top parts of the University of Alabama, not planning on being compliant with the law, not planning on putting the needs of their students first. Go check out my story. You will be like amazed at some of what went on behind the scenes, what this guy's role in it is, and how he got promoted just this month. Back in a second, you're listening to April Marie filling in for Leland.